Kyler Murray could be in the MVP conversation next year?
Oh, absolutely. If he can stay healthy and they continue to put weapons around him and they continue to work and provide things that Kyler Murray needs to get better as a quarterback, absolutely he can be the NFL MVP. He's got the talent. He's got the skill set. He's got everything it takes to become the MVP. And he's young and he's active. And the kid knows how to play football. So there's no reason why he can't become the MVP if the Arizona Cardinals continue to guide him down that path. And he'll guide himself down the path just because of his God-given ability and his talents.
Yeah, and his desire to win also. And I think that's what I expect. I expect next year the Arizona Cardinals to be a 10-win team and Kyler Murray to be a legitimate candidate for the most valuable player of the National Football League. Because when you look at the trajectory that this team is on, the rate of improvement. When Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury came in as rookies, both of them, that was a 3-win football team. Then they went to 5. Then they went to 8. So why not make that jump to double digits? I kind of look at the model of the Buffalo Bills, who I think had a better foundation when Josh Allen got there. And look, in their third year, look what happened to them. They took off. They made a good run into the postseason. And I would expect the Cardinals to do the same thing.
Richard, where do you see what do the Cardinals have to do to take that next step to go from, like you say, from 3 wins to 5 to 8 to 10 wins, like you say, in a potential playoff berth? What do they have to do to continue to grow and take those next steps in a division that's going to be so tough next year? Now you've got Matthew Stafford you're going to see twice a year with the Rams. You've got Russell you're going to see twice a year. And could we see another quarterback with the 49ers? Potentially. We don't know what the 49ers are going to do. So the 49ers are going to bounce back. What do the Cardinals have to do to contend with these other 3 excellent football teams and be competitive and be relevant?
I think get better on the lines on both sides. Get that offensive line better to protect your investment in Kyler Murray, and then also get better on the defensive line to put pressure on the other team's quarterback and stop the run, because they obviously had issues with the run against the Rams in those last couple of games. And so they got to get better defensively. They got to protect Kyler Murray better, maybe get him another weapon or two. And also, I think this is also a testament to what Tom Brady's been able to do to get to 10 Super Bowls. For a team to have a Super Bowl season, so many things have to go right in order for that to happen. Because if Chandler Jones doesn't get hurt, the Arizona Cardinals, they're a different team down the stretch there. If Larry Fitzgerald is in those 2 games, in the final games of the season, they might win one of those and get into the postseason. So it's amazing how little things like that can come up. You have to be prepared to overcome that. And that is having depth, and that's having quality players ready to jump in whenever possible. That's one thing Bruce Arians does. He did it here. He just stockpiles talent, and he has an eye for talent. And that's part of the process, is just making sure you have the horses to go the entire journey, because it is a long, brutal journey for every NFL team. Look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They started out 11-0. They were the last team to lose a game, but they just completely ran out of gas, and they had a guy that was undrafted playing middle linebacker in the playoffs. You're not going to win that way.
Richard, let me ask you about Patrick Peterson. There were reports that came out. I saw some reports on Twitter that the Cardinals and Patrick Peterson may agree to part ways. He's obviously a free agent. Are you hearing anything about Patrick Peterson and the Cardinals kind of splitting? And if so, where do you think he might go, or would the Cardinals consider bringing him back?
Well, I'm sure the Cardinals would consider bringing him back, but at a price. He's a 10-year veteran now. He did not have his best season as a Cardinals. As a matter of fact, he probably had, a season more comparable to his rookie year. And, it's going to be time to say, how much does Patrick Peterson want to make money? Does he want to win? Does he want to stay with the Cardinals? Do both? Well, it's all going to depend on both sides. I think it's going to take some give and take on both sides. And if it's kind of interesting, though, because for years, the big offseason issue for the Cardinals was to get a guy to play on the other side of Patrick Peterson. Well, now they have to keep Patrick Peterson. Forget about the guy on the other side, but there are a lot of teams that I think will be willing to kick the tires on Pat P. Tampa Bay, one of them. Bruce Arians really loved, Patrick Peterson. He had him playing quarterback at some times, remember? I mean, he really utilized him and his talents to the fullest. I think Kansas City, his relationship with the Honey Badger is no secret. The Honey Badger lived with him when he first got here. So he might have want to go there and have a chance to win. So, I'm hearing the Dallas Cowboys are also a team that might have the money to afford him. So I think it's going to come down to where can he maximize his financial situation and where will he have a chance to win? Because I know that's important to him.
And also, I think the 49ers could be in play. Richard Sherman says he may want to play 2 more years and then he'll retire. So I'm sure the 49ers, I'm sure John Lynch would kick the tires on potentially bringing Pat P in.
Absolutely. And Richard Sherman might go to the Raiders. So, but I think it would be interesting if those two guys could be on the same team, considering the rivalry they've had for years, and they just have those guys in that back secondary trying to one-up each other. Of course, I don't know. You'd have to play, you'd have to have 2 owners to pay both of those guys. But it would be interesting to see. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Patrick Peterson was, played in the Waste Management Phoenix Open Pro-Am. We asked him about, his future in the National Football League. He says, I know I'll be playing somewhere. I just don't know where. And I thought that was pretty interesting that he didn't mention the Arizona Cardinals.
I want to ask you about Dak Prescott, Rich. We know the season came to an end for him horrifically with that injury. And unfortunately, due to the clauses or the contract, nothing can be negotiated during the season until now that the season is over. There's a deal in process that may happen. They're nowhere close, of course. What does this mean for the future of Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, it just means it's up in the air, and especially when you have such a brutal injury like that. You never know how a guy's going to come back. But I'll tell you what, if anybody can come back and be just as good, if not better, it's Dak Prescott because of his attitude and the way he works and the character that he has and the leader that he is, So it's going to be, you can't help but root for a guy like that. But it is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And it also is interesting that, the Dallas Cowboys offered him a pretty good deal. I mean, it wasn't the highest paid deal out there. No. But it was a deal that was going to set him up for life, and that's where these agents have such an important job and play such a vital role in the future of these guys, where they advise them not to take it. Then he gets hurt, so who knows if he's ever going to get that deal again? So it's always interesting to me when a guy gets, a big contract like that and says, "Nah, I'm gonna ride this thing out and see what else will come around." Sometimes it's best to take the sure thing and show some loyalty, and then see how things play out. But that's problems I've never had. I'll say that.
Those will be good problems to have, wouldn't they, Rich?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And then there's the blockbuster, I guess you can call it, of the day with Josh Rosen. He has signed a 1-year deal with the 49ers. So what's going to happen with Jimmy? What is the vision for the 49ers going here forward? You get the sense that the Jimmy GQ experiment might be over there in San Francisco. And it's interesting because this guy was a pass or 2 away from being a Super Bowl champion. And I remember thinking about this year's Super Bowl, where I said to myself, if Kansas City gives Tom Brady the chances that Jimmy GQ had in the Super Bowl, Tampa Bay's going to win because Tom Brady will make those passes, make those plays. And the guy really burst onto the scene, and then to see him fall out of favor there in San Francisco is interesting. And, there were reports that the 49ers are going to try to get a quarterback, a lot like the Rams did. And, Ed, you kind of touched on it, where this division is going to be brutal to play in. When you think of how much better the Rams can be with Matthew Stafford, because he is a good quarterback that's never really had a supporting cast. Well, he has one now. And that 49er team is good. All they need is a quarterback. And it's not, I don't know if Josh Rosen's going to have a chance to start there, but it's nice to see that he's landed on a team, because I just think, he's such a talented player, and I've never really seen him have the opportunity. And it's kind of a shame to me, because I would like to see what he really can bring to the table with a quality product around him. Of course, he played that 1 year here, but that team was so bad, I don't think anybody could have won here. Then he goes to Miami and he falls out of, it's just so it's been tough. And he's another guy that kind of reminds me of Alex Smith, where he doesn't need the money. he's doing this because he loves the game. And I would like to see him get a chance to see what he can do.
And I would think that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan do not want to lose this arms race in the NFC West, a division where you've got Stafford and you've got Russell Wilson, you've got Kyler Murray. So I would think that they would, as much as the Texans say they don't want to trade and they're not thinking about trading Deshaun Watson, I would think for the right offer, the Texans would want to move Deshaun Watson. And I would think that John Lynch would make a call to his agent and say, or the Texans and say, hey, look, what will it take to get him to San Francisco, or possibly Sam Darnold, or possibly Carson Wentz? There's talk about Wentz will get traded in the next couple of days. So you would think the 49ers would like to pull some kind of blockbuster deal so they can stay in harmony with their football team and be competitive in this division, Rich and Joe, because if they don't have a quality quarterback, they're not coming close to winning this division.
Yeah, and I love the way you call it the arms race. I like that. I might use that.
Please do.
All right.
Yes. So I'm going to throw a little fun fact out there. I know, Rich, we've had you for almost an hour and don't want to keep you. I want to make sure you have dinner and, take care of yourself too.
I can skip a meal or two. Don't worry about it.
You're the best.
But we don't skip those Cardinals meals, do we, Rich?
Yeah, exactly.
No.
When it's free, it's for me. When
That's
I gotta
right.
pay, I'll wait another day.
That's right.
But little fun fact out there, because we have, baseball is in the air. We know that's how we know Super Bowl, football season, it ends. And
training's coming.
We have the countdown, spring training right around the corner. But Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes were both part of MLB draft picks. So how cool, is that fun fact for a baseball lover like myself? But also how, just come to imagine if they would have both come to be baseball players and seeing them, in the diamond out there playing against each other. How cool would that be? And what positions would you see them playing?
Yeah, well, that's the cool thing about a lot of these quarterbacks that are having success in the National Football League. Russell Wilson was a baseball player. Kyler Murray is a baseball player. And I think that's what makes them better quarterbacks than normal, because they can throw from different angles. Because if you're a shortstop, you're going this way, throwing that way. You don't have to plant your foot. You could just flick it with your wrist. So I think that's why these guys are so successful when throwing the ball on the run. Because as a baseball player, you throw the ball on the run a lot. You really don't have time to sit there, pat the baseball, step into the throw, and throw. You throwing it sidearm, you're throwing it overhand, you flipping it this way. And it's funny because nowadays kids are so specialized. They start saying, oh, this kid's going to be a golfer. He's only playing golf from 8 years old all the way. Well, sometimes playing these other sports can make you a better tight end, make you a better quarterback. Look at Tony Gonzalez. He played college basketball, and he became the greatest tight end of all time. So I think it's interesting when parents specialize these kids, because one, if you play more sports, it takes away from the monotony of it, and two, it can make you better. Case in point, Deion Sanders, Patrick Mahomes, Brady, like I said, Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. So I think it's a good thing for all sports too, for Major League Baseball to say, hey, look, these guys could have been here, or vice versa. LeBron, what kind of tight end would he have been? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I think Randy Moss also played basketball. T.O. was also a good basketball player. So
and Bo Jackson.
Yeah, but of course, Bo Jackson. So yeah, John Elway, he was drafted by the Yankees, and he even threatened to go play baseball if the Colts were going to draft him. So it's cool. Some of these guys are just good. Deion Sanders, when he was playing baseball and football. I mean, Deion Sanders is the only guy in the history of sports to score a touchdown in the National Football League and hit a home run in Major League Baseball in the same week. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's unbelievable. I thought I had a good week until I found out what Deion Sanders is doing. And then when they asked him about that, how do you play both sports at such a high level? He goes, man, I've been doing that since I was in seventh grade. The only thing that's different is I also ran track back then. So that's just goes to show how amazing these guys are.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it also gives you, as an athlete, playing multiple sports gives you more of that agility, that movement. and being able to also have a little bit more of that quickness, because that